Hi, good afternoon, Jacques. I hope you're well.
I'm good, thank
Jacques,
you.
just a question on 6-2 split on the bench. You guys have gone back to the bomb squad. Is there a reasoning for that? And then just Cheslin Kolbe at 15. He obviously hasn't played for the Springboks at 15 before. Played for Western Province and the Stormers. Can you tell us the reasoning for that as well? Thanks.
Mubin, yeah. No, listen, the reason for the 6-2 split, obviously, we had a good look at the strengths of Ireland, and we feel the combination of the 6-2 split and also the combination that we selected at the back field or the back three is probably going to give us the best possible advantage against Ireland. So, yeah, that's the reason for the 6-2 split. We all know Ireland, probably one of their strengths is their multi-phase attack, their fitness, the speed of their breakdown. So obviously, we think that selecting that combinations, will serve us the best. And then your question regarding Cheslin, Cheslin at fullback, he was actually, I would probably say after about 3 or 4 games since he started with us in 2018, Cheslin was always a realistic option for us at 15 and trained at 15 often for us. We were just never forced or forced to play him there, so not forced, but I mean it was never the opportunity for us to play him there. So but like I said, we feel that this specific game, having Cheslin at fullback will serve us the best.
Jan de Koning.
Thank you, Zina. Thank you, Jacques. Jacques, just to follow up on that, I mean, you touched briefly on the threat that Ireland pose with their multi-phase game. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. They obviously pose a threat to their multi-phase game, and no team ever plays to lose. But what aspect of their game do you think threatens you the most, and where you need to be the most careful of going into the game?
Yes, I think if you look at Ireland across the board, there's a reason why they're number 1 currently in the world, and they've beaten New Zealand in New Zealand. I think they've got a well-balanced game. They obviously, everybody sees their attack and how well they attack and how they keep the ball in hand, but you know what? They're the best defensive side in the world currently, conceding the least tries, least points. So, and that's why I don't think you can put your finger on one thing. I think they're well balanced, and that's why they're number 1 in the world, and that's why it's so important for not important for us, but that's why it's such a challenge for us as players and as coaches to come and compete against Ireland in Ireland, in the Viva, which is also a little bit of a, I would say, a fortress for them. So yeah, it's a nice challenge a year out before World Cup, in knowing that we're going to play them in our pool stages within the World Cup.
Nathan.
Thank you, Zin. Can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yep.
Hi, Jacques. Just sticking to the front row. Regularly, you had that unit, as you call it, Kitsi, Malcolm, and France on the bench as part of the bomb squad, but now you elevated them to start. Was this decision taken knowing the Ireland's strengths, as you mentioned? They did do fairly well against the ABs as well down in New Zealand.
Sorry, just your question is regarding the props that were normally in the bomb squad that's now starting. That was your question,
yes,
am I right?
Yes, that's correct. And obviously, the Irish team is doing very well in New Zealand. I mean, do you use that as a factor as well?
Yeah, and I think if you look at the front row that we've gone with, it's probably if you look at the last couple of games that or last couple of test matches that we've played, we went with consistency there. And like I said, I think the combinations that we selected in terms of the guys starting and the guys coming off the bench, I think those combinations are probably best suited for us in trying to combat the strengths and to utilize our opportunities playing against Ireland.
Craig?
Thanks, Nina. Hi, Jacques. Hope you're well. Just going back to Cheslin, does he also cover as fly half for this game? I know Billy's on the bench, can also play there. And And also, it's just maybe the smallest back three you've chosen in a long while with Kirtley and Cheslin, in terms of sort of sheer height when you think of Kane and Moody or Philly himself. Is there anything to read into that as well?
Your first question was regarding does Cheslin cover fly off us?
Yeah.
Yes. Obviously, with us going with a 6-2 split, yeah, Cheslin will be our fly off cover, and yeah, he's obviously with us doing roadmaps on the players and doing performance analysis, he's been utilized. Although it is at top 14 level or club level, he's been utilized as fly-off often, especially for Toulouse. When the French team managed Inzamam, he stepped in and played fly-off for them quite often. And yeah, obviously he's a very skillful player, and that's the nice thing, having the versatility of a guy like Cheslin that can play fullback for you, can play wing for you, can cover you at fly-off. And especially if you want to utilize a 6-2 split, that's quite important. And then in terms of the back three, yeah, the only difference there is probably, yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know, yeah, I probably, I don't know the centimeters, but probably Cheslin is a little bit shorter than Billy, but Mapimpi is still the same. And when we played against New Zealand, obviously, Kirtley was there. So yeah, I think they probably in stature a little bit shorter than what we used to, but unfortunately or not, that's with Kainan being out, that's the cards we've been dealt with. And yeah, I'm comfortable that they will be able to handle whatever Ireland throws their way.
Russell?
Hi there, Jack. Nice to meet you. Just a couple of a two-pronged question, if I can. First of all, is there a different dynamic to the game, given the fact you're both in the same World Cup group? Are there little moves, things you need to work on that you almost need to keep aside and not show and keep your powder dry? I wondered that. And also just the question of the statement for the Springboks to come to the Northern Hemisphere, and with the World Cup to come, with a huge series of games to come, how important is it to put in a massive, big first performance against that top team in the world?
Russell, yeah, yes, I think for both teams, I mean, this will be quite a big game, especially if you have a little bit of a eye on the World Cup. We obviously are contesting pools against each other, or against each other in the same pool. So I think from both sides, it will be quite important for them and for us to have a proper performance. And in terms, and like I've mentioned before, I think it is pretty much, I think, what you would like a year out before World Cup. You want to play the #1 team in the world away from home, and you want to test yourself against them. And feeding on and moving on to your follow-up question in terms of how big the series is, yes, or this end of year tour for us is, yeah, we are playing some proper teams. You know, Ireland week 1, #1 in the world. Then the French Six Nations champion week 2 in the world. Then we play Italy, and we all saw what Italy did in the Six Nations against Wales in the last game. And then we move on to England, you know, who's, I don't know where they're at currently, but this is exactly, I think, what you need. We are happy that we have a tour like this because before you go into a World Cup. And I think for everybody, this will be a big tour for us, for Ireland, for England, for all the teams that's touring, New Zealand, Australia, because you want to build some momentum going into the World Cup.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Z. Hello, Jock. Hi, Louis. Jock, just on the newbies that you have in the squad, how tempting was it to give some of them a run in the first game, or was it just to first pick the strongest side, get the November tests on the roll with them?
Yeah, Lethan, I think the thing with the younger guys, I think a lot of coaches in this on this end of year tour for a lot of nations will have some younger players within their squad, because I think some of us will still have maybe you're still looking, you settled with your number 1 and 2 choice, but you want to find out who's number 3. Hopefully you settled with number 1 and 2 choice, and you maybe want some answers on your number 3. But I reckon there's different ways in how you can introduce your newbies. I think if you go back to what we did in the second test match against Wales and Bloemfontein, we introduced a whole lot of them in one game. And then the other way is how we did it now, I would say, in the Rugby Championship, where you introduce one new player in a settled environment, like we did with a guy like Kirtley, with Kane. So, yeah, we introduced them one by one. So I think, yeah, we will probably go that route if there is some answers that we need in certain positions. And yeah, I think the guys, yes, we are certainly happy with the effort they're putting in currently and the energy they bring within training sessions. But I think they'll probably, depending on how things work out and depending on injuries and a lot of factors, we will probably introduce them as we see it fit. And sometimes your hands is forced, sometimes it is not. Yeah, so yeah, we've got they're with us, they're working hard, and we will introduce them whenever we feel the time's right.